I never thought I'd see the day when my own family would treat me like a stranger. But life has a way of surprising you. That morning I woke up early, made my coffee, and sat staring at a faded photograph of my late wife Linda. Her smile reminded me of better days, when family meant everything and respect wasn't something you had to beg for. It was a Thursday, and I'd been thinking about my daughter, Emily, and her husband, Mark. I'd done my best to support them. When Mark lost his job, I dipped into my retirement savings to help them keep their house. When Emily wanted to go back to school, I co-signed the loan. I never kept track of the money because that's what family does. Or so I thought. A week earlier, Emily had called, excited. "Dad, Mark just got promoted at the dealership. He's a sales manager now. He wants you to come by and see the place." She insisted, saying it would mean a lot to Mark. So I put on my best shirt, the one Linda always liked, and drove across town. The dealership was all glass and chrome, shining in the morning light. I parked my old truck in the back, feeling out of place among the rows of brand new cars. Mark was near the front desk, looking polished and confident in his suit. When he saw me, his smile flickered for just a moment. "Hey Tom," he said, using my first name instead of Dad. "What brings you here?" I tried to ignore the sting. "Emily said you wanted me to see the place." He glanced around nervously. "Yeah, well, we're pretty busy today. Maybe you could come back another time?" "I've got a lot on my plate," I nodded, trying not to show my disappointment. "Sure, Mark. I'll just take a look." I wandered through the showroom, remembering when I could fix any engine with just a wrench. I stopped in front of a cherry red sedan, and that's when I heard voices. "Who's Olga?" One of the salesmen whispered. "That's Mark's father-in-law," another replied, not bothering to lower his voice. "He's just here to kill time. Probably can't afford anything." I felt my cheeks burn, but I kept my head high. I'd worked hard all my life. A few minutes later, Mark approached me, his face tight with irritation. "Listen, Tom, I really need you to leave. The boss is coming in soon, and we can't have people just hanging around." "It doesn't look good." I stared at him, stunned. "You want me to leave?" He shifted uncomfortably. "It's just, this is a professional environment." I looked around at the nearly empty showroom, the salesmen chuckling behind their hands. Something inside me cracked. I just nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "All right, Mark, I'll go." As I walked out, I caught my reflection in the glass doors. An old man in a borrowed world, no longer welcome in the places he'd helped build. I drove home in silence, wondering when respect had become a luxury I could no longer afford. But life, as I would soon learn, wasn't done with me yet. The days that followed were heavy. I tried to keep busy, but I couldn't escape the echo of Mark's words. Emily called a few times, her voice cheerful but distant. I lied, telling her everything was fine. I didn't want her to know how small I'd felt. One evening, sorting through old bills, I found a folder I hadn't opened in years. Inside was evidence of a lifetime of sacrifice. The down payment for their house, the tuition checks, the co-signed loan. I never thought twice about helping them. That's what parents do. But looking at the numbers, I realized just how much I'd given and how little I'd asked for in return. The next morning, I visited Linda's grave. Kneeling beside her headstone, I whispered, "I'm sorry, Linda. I tried to do right by them. I really did. But I don't know if I belong anymore." A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, and for a moment, I felt her presence, soft and reassuring. On my way home, I stopped for groceries. As I was loading my truck, a man in a crisp suit approached me. "Excuse me," he said. "Are you Tom Harris?" I nodded, surprised. "I'm Richard Bennett. I used to work with you at the plant. You were the foreman who always looked out for the new guys." I laughed, the sound rusty. "That was a long time ago." He smiled. "Maybe, but people don't forget kindness, Tom." Before he left, he handed me his card. "If you ever need anything, give me a call." I slipped it into my pocket, not thinking much of it. But I realized something had shifted. Maybe I wasn't as invisible as I thought. A few days later, Emily called again, her voice tinged with worry. "Dad, are you okay?" This time I told her the truth. "I went to the dealership, Emily. Mark asked me to leave. Said I was making the place look bad." There was a long silence. Then her voice hardened. "I'll talk to him." The next morning, my phone rang. It was Richard Bennett, inviting me to lunch. We met at a small diner. "I'm the regional director for Bennett Automotive Group," he explained. "We own several dealerships, including the one where your son-in-law works." I was stunned. He continued, "I heard about what happened. A manager mentioned an incident. When I realized it was you, I wanted to hear your side. I told him everything. He listened carefully. Thank you for telling me, Tom, he said. That's not how we do business. Not in my company. That evening, Emily called. Dad, Mark's in trouble at work. His boss found out what happened. He's furious. I felt a pang of guilt, but also a strange sense of justice. I didn't mean to cause problems, Emily. I just wanted to be treated with respect. I know, Dad. I'm sorry, she sighed. I should have seen it sooner. The next day, Richard called me back to the dealership. When I arrived, the atmosphere was different. The salesman stood a little straighter. Mark was nowhere to be seen. Richard greeted me at the door. Tom, I want to apologize for what happened. No one should be treated that way. He led me through the showroom, introducing me to the staff. This is Tom Harris, he said loudly. He's a valued member of our community and a friend of mine. I felt a swell of pride I hadn't felt in years. Then Richard turned to me. I'd like to offer you a new car, Tom. On the house. Consider it a thank you for everything you've done. I was speechless. I can't accept that, Richard, he smiled. It's not nearly enough. But it's a start. I shook his hand, flooded with gratitude. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen, valued, and respected. Driving home in my new car, I realized that sometimes justice comes when you least expect it. The days that followed were brighter. Emily came by more often, and a new honesty grew between us. I heard Mark had been demoted. I didn't take any pleasure in his downfall, but I hoped he'd learn something about humility. One afternoon, a young neighbor named Carlos stopped to admire my new car. He mentioned he was looking for a job. I remembered Richard's card. Give this man a call, I said, handing it to him. Tell him Tom Harris sent you. As he walked away, I felt a quiet pride. It was the knowledge that respect, once given, has a way of coming back to you. That evening, Emily and I sat on the porch. I'm sorry, Dad, she said softly. For everything, I smiled, squeezing her hand. It's all right, Emily. What matters is that we learn from our mistakes. As the stars appeared, I realized respect isn't something you can demand. It's something you earn through kindness, sacrifice, and love. If you've ever felt invisible or unappreciated, know this. Your worth isn't measured by the approval of others. It's found in the quiet strength of your own heart. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more.